how do you move from having a small talk conversation into having a more deep, connecting, soulful, heart-to-heart conversation with someone? Alright, hey guys, welcome back to another video on the Flow of Consciousness YouTube channel. In one of my previous videos where I talk about how I hate small talk, if you guys haven't watched it, I highly recommend you go check it out. I talk about the fact that I used to really not like small talk. Now, a good friend of mine, she watched the video and she had the question that I also really don't like small talk, and you mentioned that you don't want to stay stuck in a 2-hour small talk conversation. How do you move from having a small talk conversation into having a more deep, connecting, soulful, heart-to-heart conversation with someone? So I mentioned the fact that small talk can serve its purpose as a facilitator to establish trust. Once we know that the other person is able to hold a conversation and we know how they are behaving in a social setting, we can then move on into a more personal, meaningful conversation which addresses more of the unique experiences and qualities, because everybody has their own story. And I think that the first thing that is really important for you to keep in mind is that you want to cultivate an attitude of creativity. The way I succeed most of the time in having a very intimate, deep, meaningful conversation is because I am genuinely interested in the person who is sitting in front of me. I want to know more about them. I am curious. I want to learn how their life evolved, what kind of experiences they had, the things they learned, the things they struggled with. There is an inherent curiosity from my side to want to find out more about their lives. Cultivating an attitude and a mindset of curiosity where you really want to learn more about the person, I believe, is the basis of the skill set which will enable you to have deep, purposeful, meaningful conversations. The second thing is that you want to listen for cues from the other person as they are talking. So as you're having a small talk interaction, they may be talking about a family member that was very dear to them, or they mention a pet, or they mentioned that one time when they were on the beach and they felt really happy being there. These can potentially lead to conversational threads which will lead to more personal topics. You can pay attention to those small signs and pick in. So for example, you can repeat to them that, hey, I heard you say that you felt very happy and connected when you were on the beach that day. What exactly made you feel like that? What was important to you about that? And then they can go deeper into talking about maybe their values. Why do they feel happy when they're at the beach? Maybe they value freedom. Then you can ask another question. Why is freedom important to you? Can you share something more about that? I want to learn more about who are you. And if you can show how interested you are in getting to know them, people are usually way more willing to share stuff, because everybody, this is a second mindset I think is important to keep in mind. Everybody wants to feel seen. Everybody wants to feel heard. Everybody wants to feel appreciated for them, right? So if you can show that you want to hear them, you want to see them, you want to learn more about them, then people, once they realize that you are really, honestly, genuinely interested, they are willing to open up and share a lot of things. So it comes down to asking the right questions, paying attention, being conscious, being present, and showing that you are really, really interested in getting to know them. So a few questions I really like to ask, a few type of questions I really like to ask when I want to transition from a small talk interaction more into a deeper conversation are questions like, why is that important to you? What about that is important? How did you get there? When did he or she arrive? When was that time? Can you tell me a little bit more about this moment? These type of questions are open-ended questions. It's not a closed yes or no question. Let me give you an example of a closed yes or no question. Do you like lasagna? There's only two options. Well, actually three. Yes, no, or maybe. This can stop the conversation dead in its tracks. What you want to do instead is, what is your favorite meal? Or why do you like lasagna? Or how did you came to like lasagna? This opens up the doors for the other person to talk about their personal experiences. How did you come to like lasagna? Oh, I had this one time when I was with my friends in Italy and we went to this great restaurant and we ordered food and I had the best lasagna of my life. This can serve as a segue into maybe talking about travel and why is it important that this person has experiences with their friends, etc., etc. There is a lot of ways where you can move from a more general small talk interaction into a deeper conversation if you stay present, if you are curious, and if you pick up on the cues. You want to really listen for signs that the other person is sharing with you that reveal the underlying values, that reveal more intimate sensations, emotions, thoughts, and feelings, right? And if you pick up on that, and I want to make sure that you do it with a sense of curiosity. You just want to learn more. You really want to learn more. If you ask the right questions, then naturally the interaction will evolve into a more meaningful and deep conversation. Now, something that I learned from moving interactions from the small talk part very fast into a deep conversation is that it's very, very important to also share things of myself. You want to keep a nice balance. You want to let the other person talk, you want to ask questions, but you also want to share stuff about your own life. And not in an egotistical manner where you are constantly just wanting to steal the show and sharing everything that you think is important and you don't really listen to what the other person is saying because it comes down back to being present and paying attention. You want to share relevant things from your own life that are adding to the topic that you're talking about, but that also add some of your experiences, some of your more personal thoughts, feelings, ideas, because this will create trust. You share something about yourself, I share something about myself, and as you both do that, you're adding to the conversation and you're creating like a synergetic relationship in that moment where both people equally share an equal amount of personal information that is based on a foundation of curiosity, based on a foundation of trust and genuine intrigue into what the other person experienced in their lives or the things they think about or ideas that are important to them. So sharing things about your own life, this is something that I had to learn the hard way. Like I mentioned in the video about small talk, I got very harsh feedback from a girl that I met during my travels where she mentioned the fact that, hey, you're asking a lot of personal questions and I don't know nothing about you. It's actually rude to do that. It really made me reevaluate my whole conversation style. And from that moment onwards, I started to share more about my own life too. And for example, they share a small story about how they had a fantastic relationship with their grandfather and he was a very important person to them because he was someone they look up to and that they learned a lot from. Then you can share something about your own life like, hey, I had a really strong and powerful relationship with my aunt a few years back, but then we drifted apart. And actually, when I think about it, it makes me a little bit sad because I felt very close to her and now this relationship is not the way it used to be. This allows the other person to also get to know you, which will then help them to feel like they can trust you more, which will then help them to feel more comfortable sharing more intimate knowledge about themselves. You want to make them feel safe. Everything that people tell me in a personal conversation, I understand that they tell it to me and not to someone else. So it's not my right to go and share this information with other people, right? The only way I could potentially do that is anonymously, where I share a story about somebody telling me something, but it's not possible to identify this person, right? So you want to really safeguard the information they share with you because they tell it to you in that moment and it's only to you. If they would want to share it with many people, then they would share it with many people, but they don't do it. So be respectful of the things they tell you. Only if it's super important information that somebody needs to know because otherwise they will, I don't know, hurt themselves, then maybe okay, you can share it with someone else. But in general, I want to maintain the mindset that whatever someone tells me is because they want to tell it to me and not to someone else. So it's not my right, it's disrespectful to go share this information with someone else. Make them feel safe, make them feel seen, make them understand that the things they tell you, they are safe with you. You will not start to shout them on the rooftops in the cities, the information they share with you. You will keep it confidential. You will treat it with respect, with utmost respect. And so this is the third mindset I want you to adopt. If your aim is to have deep, meaningful conversation, always treat the other person with utmost respect. And the things they share with you, treat them with an equal amount of respect. A few practical tips you can use to move a conversation from small talk into a deeper type of interaction is be present. Stay present. When you feel distracted, bring yourself back to the conversation. Really connect with the person. Look them in the eye. Be aware of their presence. Be in your body. Be present. Pay attention. Be mindful. And practice it. Meditate. Practice your presence, because this will enable you to be more present in conversations with people, and this will eventually allow you to connect a lot more deeply than if you would be distracted. Secondly, pay attention to the cues they're sharing with you during the small talk conversation. Listen for excitement in their voice, sadness, anger maybe. Pick up on those subtle emotions and understand that once there is an emotion going on, there is probably a more interesting value that's hidden beneath the thing they're talking about. Ask questions on those threads. You can even verbalize observations. You can say, hey, I see that you light up. I can see you're getting excited, or I can see that you're a little bit sad when you talk about this. Do you want to share more? When you make clear observations, you can only do this when you're very present, when you're curious. People will feel seen, and they will feel like you're really paying attention, which will allow them to then share more about this particular topic. So pay attention to the subtle emotions, and you can describe them. You can literally say, wow, I can see that you seem very excited when you talk about this. Thirdly, ask open-ended questions. Try to come up with an alternative version of 10 yes or no questions. Pull out a piece of paper, write down 10 yes or no questions. Is the weather good today? Do you like to travel? Do you work? Did you study? Simple questions. Try to come up with an open-ended question. How is the weather today? When did you start studying? Why did you go there? How did you came to believe that? Etc. Not like, do you believe that God exists? More like, how did you come to believe that there is something more to this life? Just an example. And then fourthly, share stuff about your own life. Be willing to take the lead. Share something vulnerable about yourself. Share a small anecdote where you felt an intense emotion and talk more about why that was the case. This will pave the way and will show the other person that you're willing to show yourself vulnerably. This creates trust, and this will allow them to do the same. So I hope that this was a helpful video for you. I hope you can use these mindsets and practical tools to implement in your own conversations, and I hope they will lead to more meaningful, soulful connections and interactions between people. So if you use any of the information I present to you here in this video, I would love to hear about your experiences. I would love to hear about your thoughts, your stories. So please feel free to share them in the comments. I want to read them, and I want to learn more about how you implement the things that I talk about. So on that note, I want to end this video, and I want to thank you for being brave. I want to thank you for looking for ways to improve yourself, to have more meaningful conversations, to develop yourself, to grow into your most authentic self. And as always, thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Bye.